So it's been a few days since I covered the Unity situation, and it was pretty much going over how they were pretty much doing a speed run to destroy their company. And there's been a couple of little bits of new information that I just wanted to go over with just so we have the complete story. I've already did like a whole deep dive into the situation, so if you want to check it out, I'll put a link to the original video I did a couple days ago. But today, there's just been some more information that let's go over. So one of the first things is a collective letter from game development companies turning off all ironSource and Unity ads monetization until new conditions are reviewed. This is a letter that went out a couple of days ago, which is pretty much supposed to be a way to for game developers to come together and pretty much unionize, right? And not in the sense of your regular term of union, but just come together as a unity, pun intended, I guess, right? Pretty much just their way to go against Unity and say, hey, we don't like your changes. If you don't change them, guess what? We're just going to keep rolling with a way to fuck you over monetarily, and you're not going to make any money back at all. And for a company that's already struggling to make money, them making this statement is pretty huge blow to them. Unity has been an instrumental force in the industry in many ways. It's inspired us to create new immersive worlds. We host Unity centered events, and I'm just going to skip around. I'm not going to read all of it for you. I'll just put a link in the description below if you want to read it all for yourself. But the main part is says that's why September 12th announcement hit us hard. Effective January 1st, Unity plans to introduce installation independent fees, a decision that has jeopardized small and large game developers alike, made without any industry consultation. The claim as Unity has that this new runtime fee will only impact 10% of the industry is not just misleading, it's patently false. We strongly oppose this move, which disregards unique challenges and complexities of the industry. While we've always viewed our work as a hard collaborative effort, this decision blindsided us. With one stroke of the pen, you put hundreds of studios at risk, all without consultation or dialogue. Put in relatable terms, what if automakers suddenly decided to charge us for every mile driven on a car that you bought a year ago? The impact on consumers and the industry at large would be seismic. And then the big part is Unity. We have stood by and celebrated your every innovation. Why then were we left out of the conversation on decisions so monumental? As a course of immediate action, our collective of game development companies is forced to turn off all ironSource and Unity monetization across all projects until these changes are reconsidered. We urge others who share this stance to do the same. These rules have changed and the stakes are simply too high. The runtime fee is unacceptable shift in our partnership with Unity, and that needs to be immediately canceled. And so that's pretty much where this ends. And then they say if you want to, you can click on this link. It'll be in a document that I'll put in the description below, but you can go on there if you're a game developer and you want to show your stance and that you join with these game developers and not putting up what Unity is trying to push. I think another thing that's pretty interesting was last year, this kind of flew under the radar for me. I kept up with Unity and kind of the stuff that happened last year, but this is one of the big ones, which was when they bought ironSource, or they merged with them. There was a big thing where malware came from bad actors who abused the platform, and that's what ironSource labeled as. But they had a malware issue that apparently happened a long time ago, and they were just saying, well, it came from bad actors, but it's gone now. And so a lot of people, when this initial merger happened, they were kind of like, what's this? Why is this happening? It's interesting to see like the different situations that Unity's been put through in the past, and it just kind of, it's like red flags. It's like a relationship, right? You see red flags, but then you kind of ignore them. You're like, well, that's just one fuck up. Hey, it's not too bad. And I mean, granted, you can sit there and say, well, maybe ironSource really wasn't at fault. And there's some like overarching reason. I'm pretty sure there might be to some extent, but it's still not a good look when the company that you acquire or that you want to merge with had that issue to begin with. And so yesterday evening, Unity finally came to their senses, I guess, after having a shareholders meeting, talking with everybody around the big round table, and decided to finally have a statement get issued out and acknowledge the whole shitstorm as a whole. And this is what they had to say. Unity says, we have heard you. We apologize for the confusion and angst the runtime fee policy we announced on Tuesday caused. We are listening, talking to our team members, community, customers, and partners, and we'll be making changes to the policy. We will share an update in a couple of days. Thank you for your honest and critical feedback. Realistically, this is a response that you should have had at the beginning. Why it took so long? It's September 17th, dog. Why did it take so long to get this statement out here? This is one of those responses where you should have had this right off the bat instead of doubling down and saying, oh, sorry guys, we are bad. We know that our wording was kind of confusing and that you guys just didn't understand it. No, people did understand it. It's that they didn't agree with what you were trying to push. No one liked what you were peddling. And I like how that's still something they're trying to push even now in the statement. They said, we apologize for the confusion. Again, there ain't no confusion, man. It's just you being vague to cover yourself and have rules applied to certain things that you wanted to apply to, like with the whole piracy thing, the whole, trust me, bro. Why would someone want to trust you now? after you showed your hand, how greedy that you want to be, all the shitty things that you're trying to push, why would a developer want to trust you that you're going to do right by them whenever something like the whole piracy situation happens? And let's say people install hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of copies, and Unity's response is, trust us, bro. We got tools to figure out if you have been screwed over and someone had malicious intent to try and abuse the system. No one's going to believe you. No one's going to trust you. It's also the same situation where they stated, do installs of the same game by the same user across multiple devices count as different installs? And they said, we treat different devices as different installs. We don't want to track identity across different devices. And that's pretty much the same idea where people were talking about earlier, where someone with malicious intent can create virtual boxes and just have a whole bunch of downloads happen through each individual virtual box. And so then it all counts as separate installs. And so then it's kind of like, well, I'm kind of screwed. And then on top of that, all the big corporations, you think they're really going to want to play ball? Apple, Microsoft, Google, all these people are apparently going to be the ones who actually paid the runtime fee. That's wild to me. I don't see in any universe where they're just going to be okay with that, especially long term, how many downloads, like something for Game Pass, right? Imagine 7 million people download something. Microsoft got to cough up the cash on that and then pay the developer to get their game on there. I don't know. I don't envision that happening at all, but I could be wrong. Honestly, this statement means nothing. They should have come back when they actually had something to show, that they actually backtracked. They said, fuck all this, we're sorry. Actually wrote apologies, instead of just making that boilerplate PR statement, because at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. They can sit there and say all this, and some people are like, oh my God, Unity's actually listening. Wow, I hope they actually, go back on it. No, they don't need any applause. They don't need a celebration. They don't need the red carpet rolled out for them. Honestly, they should just keep getting heat thrown their way until they actually do backtrack. And the thing is, I don't think they're going to fully backtrack. I think they're just going to word some things differently, try to make it seem not as big of a deal as it was initially shown to be, and then it's kind of hope that everyone sings Kumbaya and go on with their life. I don't think that Unity's ever going to fully backtrack, because that wouldn't make sense for them. And with how we already talked about the CEO being from EA and the things that he's done in the past, I'm pretty sure that he's not going to budge that much. He might a little bit, just because he doesn't want to lose a bunch of developers. But even then, I think at this point in time, the trust is burned. The bridge is gone. It's been put into ashes. There is no bridge to walk on no more. And I hope developers really start looking at another engine going forward. I get it, the idea of learning one engine and not want to switch to another. But the thing is, if Unity knows they got you by the balls and that you really don't want to switch to another engine because of how much time you invested, then it just kind of tells them that, all right, we couldn't get away with this today, but maybe we'll be able to get away with it next year. We just do it a little bit slower this time, and we implement changes slowly so that people don't take notice to it, instead of the full-blown changes they tried to introduce a couple days ago. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I know that there's the whole situation with the EA, or well, now the Unity CEO that sold shares for Unity. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know too much when it comes to stock markets and shares. Never been my forte, and I'm not going to pretend like it is. Might be a big deal, might not. From some videos I've watched in the past, some people say that's typical shit. That's just normally what happens. It's not really anything to be too surprised about. But again, I'm not the authority on it. I don't have the knowledge, nor am I going to try to speak on that. That's up for you to determine how big of a deal it is. I think it's better that someone that does know the stock market talks about that more than I do. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about this, give a little update. Whenever Unity does make their new changes, I will make a new video on that and let y'all know how that goes. But yeah, if you made this far into the video, consider giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, leave me a comment below what you think. Have a great day. Yeah.